Hi there, my name is Ethan, and this is a drawing video, actually. For this character in particular, I actually had a design that I sort of had already figured out, before this initial video. So the sketch time is actually pretty low. I don't have to, work on any conceptual ideas. I just sort of remake him. So every once in a while I'll actually jump in here with, if I have anything insightful to say, doubtful, but if I have anything that I'd like to add, I will jump in here. I'm certainly not the best at this, but I don't know, maybe this would be a fun idea, maybe not. It was something quick I could do, with the time that I had, so we'll see. For pretty much all of these, you'll actually see that I draw things tilted. I almost always have to tilt something. I think it's usually tilting it to the right, but that's just a consistency. I don't know if I tilt my head too far one direction or what, but I always have to. My least favorite things to draw almost always are limbs. They are impossible. I know that's where the most posing happens, so that's probably why I hate it as much as I do, but it is just so miserable to get, legs, arms, feet, hands, all of that in the areas you want and in the positions you want, the character that you want, the personality. These arms, I actually end up doing a couple times. I wanted almost like a fed up, kind of pose. Like I wanted it to read that way, almost. I don't know if it ended up reading that way, but that was the initial intention. This first go at it was not the best. And I think you'll see here in a second, initially I gave him 4 fingers on his hand. That does end up changing, thankfully. The face took me a very long time to actually be happy with. You'll see me redraw it a couple times. I don't think it's here, but it will be quite a few attempts. Yeah, see, full. Just completely erase it, start over again. Again, I wanted kind of a, fed up almost look, and it was just giving me a lot of trouble. I think most of the trouble was coming from the eyes not being either the shape that I wanted or the expression that I wanted. So here I actually realized that I cannot stand how the arm looks, so I just pull it aside and I say, well, okay, we're gonna start over, essentially from scratch. And oh my god, I am so glad that I did that, because the one that I actually do here was 1,000 times better. Yeah, see, I just say f that, get rid of it. Easily 100 times better, get rid of that. And again, I'm debating how many fingers do I want him to have, and I do end up going with just 4 on the entire hand. 3 fingers, 1 thumb. Considering it's a slime character, it doesn't matter too much, but I almost wanted it to have sort of a comic look with how big he is and how, how many fingers he has, and the pointy feet to sort of mimic shoes. The angle on this arm takes me a little bit, but eventually we'll get there. And I think even in the end, the arm wasn't at a perfect angle, but it was acceptable to me. It got to the point where I was like, this is just gonna have to work. The legs ended up actually continuing to bother me even after. Like, when I initially did this piece, it was early and it was right before work, so I wanted to get down as much as I could. And I ended up leaving it and coming back to it later that night. But I remember coming back and still being like, oh god, these legs. These legs. Because it's just so difficult. Here I was trying to sort of figure out what actual shape I wanted for his clothing, because I knew that I wanted him in just a belt and like a skirt almost. Like it's just a folded over piece of cloth that he, adheres with a belt. And I wasn't too happy with the shape of it. It took me a little while. I'm sorry if you see me drawing like the same line over and over. It's a problem. So I didn't actually like the initial shape and decided to try one where the height is, in the center, where it's at its highest at the center. I did end up liking that a little bit more, but at this point I was on my way to work, so I had to leave it. So I left a little note for myself, essentially, to come back and give it another look when I had fresh eyes. So I come back, immediately attempt to fix the leg. And at this point, I'm just sort of touching up lines. I'm, cleaning up any stray pixels that I might see, because the initial shape is refined. This is the shape that I want. Eventually, I do actually change the white background that I was using for this. I don't know why it took me so long, but it does change, so I'm sorry about the blinding light. I actually knew what color I wanted this particular character to be. In a sense, I knew I wanted him to be green. He was going to be green. I did mess around a little bit here and there with like you'll see me doing with this blue. I'll change it a few times, trying to figure out, should it be a darker color? Should it be a lighter color? Should it be more green? Less green? Just trying to see what really worked. The idea being that as cells are replaced or remade in these slimes, they actually will gradually change. So they'll change color or consistency slightly, like new individual single-celled organisms that are being created. The way that I block things in, I'm sure, is absolutely goofy. I always found that the magic wand fill shortcut doesn't work for the way that I sketch because of how, I guess, sloppy it is. The way that none of the lines are really closed. So I will just fill in the outside, clean it up as I go, and cry about it some other time. So at this point, I'm sort of trying to start making that slime look. Unfortunately, my stupid ass didn't look up any references, which, bad. Absolutely bad. Don't ever do that. I just started bare-balling it, The brush I'm using has a lot of texture. I use it for a lot of my coloring, just because of the, grit that it has. I really enjoy it. So here you'll see me kind of messing with the different layer settings and trying to find which one I really enjoy, and I keep going between the hard light and the multiply, and eventually come to, yes, I would like it to be this hard light. And I'd start hitting the lowest parts, making sure that they're as dark as they can be. And then start cleaning up edges with the transparent coloring. So at this point I figure out that I'm a dumbass and I change my background color to not white, thank God. And after that I start hitting the highlights. Now, I have no idea what I am doing. Again, I didn't pull up any refs. I don't know what possessed me to think that that was okay, but I just start putting colors down. I know the direction that I want my light to come from, but without a ref, it's sort of just somebody in a dark room trying to sew their pants back together in the dark. So it works for my purpose. It's for me, so it's not like anybody's gonna, be like, what the is the highlights on this thing. But looking back on it, I do wish that I had pulled up just any ref of gelatin for fuck's sake, like any ref. And then I start sort of goofing off with the light and figure out pretty quickly what I actually want it to be. And I am dissatisfied with how the blue looks and how hard the shape is. So I go under all of my layers and, clean that up a little bit, make that look a little more organic. Thankfully, I figure out that some of the lighting on some of these places is a little suspicious, so start cleaning that up. Again, just with the layer setting. Can't make up my mind. So instead of going and making a layer on top of the skin, which I usually would do, I think I do it later on, even. I, for whatever reason, am possessed with the most ineffective spirit known to man, and just erase the skin to put the skirt layer underneath the skin for some reason. I go and get color palettes that I might like to use and start, experimenting with that, seeing what works best on this character. So this initial red I did not like almost at all. It was way too stark, in comparison to the green. And I really found that I liked this super light tan as almost just having it half. I thought that was like a really cute look for whatever reason. So at this point I'm going back and forth seeing what color works the best with next to that light brown. And once I've decided, I get rid of the palette layers and start filling it in, cleaning it up. So here I start trying to shade these clothes. And again, I have absolutely no idea what exactly I'm doing. I just start putting things down and seeing what looks right, what feels right, hoping that some ancient muse will possess me and bail me out of this one. So you'll see me go back and forth. I'm putting it down, I'm taking it away, I'm defining lines and folds that make no sense and trying again. I do get to a point where I'm happy with it enough. I'm sure, like, this line sucks. Holy shit, what is that? That's terrible. But hopefully it gets cleaned up enough to make passable sense. At this point, I start cleaning everything up. I've merged all of my layers, well, almost all of them. I've merged my colored layers and left the sketch on top, so that doesn't get fucked up. And I start rendering it out, and hoping that with some rendering, it will come together. So this has to be one of my favorite stages, is getting to not particularly paint, but almost simulate that effect by just working on one layer. My old art style, I actually used to almost exclusively paint, is I'd have a sketch and then just smash everything together and start painting on top of it. And I think that is an extremely fun way to create art, is to have one layer that everything gets pushed onto, and then you just render it out when you're happy with it. But I don't do it enough anymore. I've stepped away from that for whatever reason. I was actually super enjoying how the feet were coming out, the color of the legs, I did f*** up some of the lighting on the left leg, but at the end of the day, I thought it looked, decent. I was happy with it. I thought it was cool. The belt buckle could have definitely used a wider shade to really make it look shiny, but I did end up leaving it there, I believe. Here you can actually see I've gone on top of the sketch layer and started laying on the highlights, the absolute highlights. This was really fun because it sort of got rid of some of the harsh, outline sketches here and there. It also really helps to give it the actual slime look that you want when you're drawing a slime character. The way that they're shiny and gelatinous and all of that good stuff. I ended up going with these fun, super yellow, green eyes. Initially, I did give him a defined iris and a defined sclera, and I just didn't like it. It didn't read as cartoonish as I wanted the character to read, so I went with this fun yellow approach, and I didn't like the eye, so I actually moved it. Shrunk it down and moved it, and once I was happy enough with it, I filled it back in and cleaned up a little bit more. I actually redrew the sketches over top of the eyes just to make them stand out more. Here you can see I'm flipping him back and forth trying to make sure that the eye is correct. And there he is. So I don't have the total work time on hand right now, but I'll put that on screen. It was really fun to do. I always like refining a character, having that initial idea for him and that initial sketch, and then sort of coming back with a refreshed mind and cleaning it up and really homing in themes and ideas. I hope you guys liked the video, and look forward to more, because I actually have 2 more characters that go into this sort of universe with this little green man who, again, doesn't have much of a name yet, but I'll work on that. Have a good day.